It's the spooky season, but let's be honest, nothing is scarier than trying to hire your first team member. You're standing at the edge of freedom in your business, but all you can think about is the horror stories. The wrong hire, the bad fit, the money wasted, the control lost. So you keep doing it all yourself. And that, my friend, is the real nightmare. Welcome to Female Founder Unplugged, the show where we cut through the noise and have a real, raw conversation about what it takes to build and scale a successful business as a female entrepreneur. I'm Lindsay White, people strategy expert, leadership coach, and fellow founder. And I know firsthand the challenges of scaling sustainably and staying connected to your passion along the way. This podcast is for ambitious women just like you, seasoned founders and CEOs navigating the challenges of leadership, team building, and sustainable growth. In each episode, we'll dive into those topics that are most important to you as a female founder. You'll hear honest, no BS conversations about building, growing, and leading a team and culture so that you can grow without losing yourself in the process. Because let's be real, entrepreneurship can feel isolating, and leadership doesn't come with a roadmap. If you've ever struggled with the pressure of running a business, felt overwhelmed by growing your team, or wondered, how do I scale without sacrificing my vision and my purpose? You're in the right place. Let's get unplugged. Welcome back, everyone, to a spooky session of the Female Founder Podcast. It's almost Halloween, and the truth is, there is nothing scarier than you when you're approaching that first time, that first new team member, or even if you're looking to hire someone who you know is going to be really pivotal in your business. So whether you're a solopreneur facing that first hire, or you are experienced, maybe you've been burned in the past, maybe you've had a very scary experience, this episode is absolutely for you. That's what we're going to talk about today, is how we can take the fear out of hiring. Because, listen, it's something I hear about all the time, and I've totally experienced it myself. I remember the very first time that I decided to hire help. I was in a place in my business where I was exhausted, I was overwhelmed, I was overbooked, and I was totally convinced that if I brought someone in, they'd either mess it up or I'd spend more time fixing their work than I'd do it myself. And maybe that was just more effective. And it really felt like a complete loss of control for me. It was hard. And so I want to acknowledge that if you're listening and that really resonates with you, you can feel the shivers from that I have totally experienced that too. But I want to do a little spoiler alert here. I have absolutely made some mistakes. I have absolutely underhired. I have overexplained. I didn't set clear expectations. And the truth is, I can be a little bit of a micromanager at moments in time. So if that's you, I feel you. But what I've learned through all of these experiences and through all the work that I do with my clients, right? So I work with female founders every single day who are talking about hiring someone into their organization, whether it's the first time, whether it's that big next role, whether it's someone actually to take over big, important parts of their business. Those are very scary moments. They feel very vulnerable. They feel like you might not know what you're doing. And I know how that feels. It can really change the way you perceive yourself. And it can absolutely change the way you perceive your business. And I want to help you because I know how tricky this can be. And I have a client, very recently, their business has grown to that multiple 7-figure mark. And they actually needed to bring in a real technical expert, and technical expert not in the same way that they are. It's a very different part of their business, and a part of their business that is growing super rapidly, has incredible value in it. And they know will absolutely lead the whole business to the next level. But they're hiring someone that has expertise they have no idea about. And that itself is very, very scary, especially as we are in growth mode. We need people to do work in our business that's not our expertise. But it's still a similar kind of scary when you're going to bring on that first team member, whether it's a VA to work really closely and get involved, not only in the work in your business, but maybe they're getting involved in your email and your calendar and you know that it's a hot mess. I mean, that is really, really vulnerable too. So I just want to acknowledge, I want to just touch on that this is absolutely relatable. As a founder, I have been there. I absolutely work with people that are there. I know where you're at and I know what you're feeling. But what I also want to do is I want to name that monster that is sitting under the bed. I want to talk to you about some of the real fears we have when we're hiring. So here's some of the things that I hear. So if this is you, then, put your metaphorical hand up. Maybe you have said, what if I can't afford to hire them? What if I'm making enough money in the business? There's revenue. I know there's more revenue if I could get some help and I could be more free to do some of these revenue generating activities, right? But can I continue to pay them? And I think that's a very real concern for all of us. We never, ever want to overcommit to someone and then underdeliver. Okay. So I get that. I respect that. We're going to talk about that. Maybe one of the other things in your head is, what if they're not as good as me? What if they can't deliver? And that is a real fear. How am I going to find someone who looks at this work and feels as passionate at this work as I do? The good news is you don't have to be scared of that because there are ways we can do that. We can absolutely create a recruitment process that's going to get you really fabulous outcomes, going to find you the rock star that you need. And you also might have been thinking, well, what if they leave right after I train them? Because you've probably either experienced this or you've heard about this. Someone that you finally get them up to speed and working the way you need them to work, and they bail. And I'm going to tell you a story about someone who was bailed on epically. I know that feels like a real fear. And the reality is we can't always prevent that. We don't get to control what people do when they come and go from our business. But what we can do is we can set them up to feel so successful that they don't want to leave. We make the decision really hard. And also, how do we recover if it does happen? You might also be thinking about, I just really hate managing people. Like that is not something that I ever wanted to do when I started this business. And that, for many of us, is a real concern, right? That I don't have the time, or I hear I don't have the patience, that I'm already really busy. How's this going to fit into my schedule? And I want you to know that this is absolutely for real. However, again, if we find the right person and we are clear with our expectations and we create some structure so they can know what success is, I think what you'll find is that most people actually do want to perform. I believe that people want to show up and do a good job. What happens is we don't create the space for them to deliver. So we're going to talk about that. But what I want to acknowledge in all of this is that your fears are real and they come from one core place, one core problem. And that's a lack of clarity. And the truth is the clarity and the responsibility to create it actually belongs to you. So some of this is very much about your leadership. It's very much how you set the table for someone to come into your business and be successful. It's very much about the process so that you can identify, are they the right person with the right skills and experience and also the right values and an alignment to your mission. So my friends, you're not actually afraid of hiring. What you're afraid of is making the wrong decision. And I think that's really important that we just call that out and acknowledge, because there's the way that we can actually make sure that you're making the right one. So hiring isn't all that scary when you know exactly what you need and how you're going to measure the success. The trick is we need to stop hiring for relief and start hiring for results. So Relief sounds like, I just need help. I need this thing done. I need this fixed. It's putting your finger in the dike to stop the leaks. Results, on the other hand, sound like, I need someone to own this part of the business so I can do my best work again. That's what creates results. And when you shift to results-based hiring, it changes the recruitment game. You go from guessing to guiding. It puts you in the leadership space so that you can actually trust, depend on, and create great expectations with this person that you're bringing into the business. They are clear because you are clear. They feel empowered because you are empowering. They feel guided because you are grounded. And all of that creates a space for people to deliver exceptional work for you because they know what you want. They know some of the things that pin the corners, and then they can go get after it for you. So this is all about your mindset as the CEO in your business, is really deeply understanding, what do you need? Why do you need it? Who is going to be the best fit in that? What are they going to come front end loaded with? How are they going to show up in your business and be a part of the culture? And then how are you going to make it so that they can knock it out of the park? It's absolutely magical when it comes together. So what I want to do now is actually walk you through some of the steps that we would do in a Spark session. And I'll tell you that this episode is brought to you by the Spark sessions that I offer. 1 hour, one problem, and we absolutely find the solution you need to go and execute. So this is what we would do in a Spark session together. This is how I walk my clients through it. So first of all, we need to define the gap. What is breaking in your business right now? Are you missing deadlines? Is there client churn? What about your level of burnout? That tells us what we really need to get after. We identify that gap so that we can actually create the right solution. And then what we do is really think about that one sentence, that one big need. So it might sound something like, I need someone who can come in and run my social media. And if you can't finish that sentence clearly, if you don't have a really defined outline of what you are looking to solve, then we need to figure that out before you are in fact ready to hire. So we define the gap and then we define the problem very, very clearly, very granularly. And then we can think about who needs to be in that position on our team to help us. And then our third step is really about getting after those success markers. So how are we going to know the hire is working? So for example, reduce client response time by 50%. Keep my inbox at 0. Post on my social media channels 3 times a week and respond to all messages in the social DMs within 2 hours. We make it really specific. That way we can measure, is it really happening and is something getting in the way so that we can iterate, adjust if we need to. The fourth step is about spotting our traps. So are you an over-explainer? Do you hold back on some feedback because you feel really uncomfortable delivering that crunchy information? Do you act as a bit of a micromanager? Are you always kind of looking over someone's shoulder, making them feel uncomfortable and nervous? We need to identify your leadership habits before they derail a new hire, and we need to work on that together so that you can be a really, truly effective leader for every single person that's on your team, including you. Because listen, when you're acting like a scary monster as a leader, you are actually really causing a lot of problems in your business. And then step number 5 is we create a plan, right? So we think about what are the 3 outcomes that we are looking for in 30 days. What is the check-in rhythm? How are we going to keep connected, keep getting information, data, keep providing feedback? And then what is the conversation and what does that need to look like? And so if we create that lovely plan, we take the fear out of measuring success. And for so many of us, that really is part of it. So again, if this is something that you think you need to work on, the Spark session is exactly the place to do that this fall. We pick one problem, we spend 1 hour together, we come up with the solution, and we fix all your leadership headaches that have been haunting you. So spots are open. You can book now up to December 19th so that we can get after some of these issues that are keeping you up at night. All right. So what I want to do is just really illustrate all of this through a great example. So a client of mine came to me and she was terrified to hire her first project manager. She had absolutely been burned before by a very flaky VA and someone who actually really caused incredible chaos in her business. This, my friends, was a big scary monster for her. And she really didn't trust anyone anymore. She felt like there were ghosts in all the closets. And a lot of that was truly very much centered around her. And for many of us, just like this client, we're really passionate about what we do. These businesses are so deeply meaningful for us. We have put our blood, our sweat, and our tears, and most of our life savings into the damn things. And so the work we do really is about us as a person, not just as a professional. It is a mission that we deeply, deeply feel connected to. It is the change we want to see, the impact we want to have in the world. And so the truth is, it's just so important to us. And we feel like relinquishing control is really deeply scary. And so what this client and I did is we booked a Spark session. And in 1 hour, what we were able to do was actually get a really solid definition of the role. What did she need from her project manager? Because let's be honest, every one of us is going to think about project manager a little bit differently. So we got really clear on what that role needed to look like for her. Not just, again, skills and experience, but who this person needed to be and how she would need them to work so that she could really trust them. That's what was really meaningful just for her. And then we created a really simple job posting, really simple job description that she could then put out into the world. And she decided to do that through her socials online. She didn't post it on, LinkedIn or Indeed or anything like that. She posted it through her channels. And then what we did is we outlined what that successful person would look like in 30 days. So we could be super duper clear as we were talking with different people who were applying that this is what we were looking for and this was what success would mean. So she posted that job right away that afternoon. We spent an hour together in the morning. She had the job posted that afternoon. And in only a couple weeks, she was so excited to report back to me that she hired a really fantastic person. And the biggest shock, this is what she told me, I'm sleeping again. No more monsters under the bed. And listen, I'm not, making light of this with the Halloween references. This was truly a business owner who was really struggling. She was working a lot. She was carrying a real burden. And the truth is, it was very disruptive to her personal life, and she really wasn't sleeping well. And so we were absolutely, in one Spark session, able to figure out what was happening, what we needed to find as the solution, create the assets that she needed and the confidence that she needed to post that job and find her rock star. And ultimately, she's back to the place where she is actually feeling some freedom again, where she is feeling the release from that fear. And that to me is what it is really all about. So if hiring your first team member Feels scarier than going into a haunted house this Halloween season. Let's fix that together. In a Spark session that's 1 hour, one problem, one solution, we can map out exactly who you need, what success looks like, and how to start without wasting time or money. Because, my friends, we don't have nearly enough time, and often we don't have nearly enough money. And I get that. I'm a business owner too. So what you'll do in one of these Spark sessions is leave with so much clarity, a job description that you can leverage, a checklist of the things that you need to be doing, and a ton of confidence that you're going to do it the right way. So the link to book your Spark session is going to be in the show notes, or head to highvoltageleadership.ca. You can find that link there too. And let's make your next hire feel exciting, not terrifying. That's not the point. So if the idea of hiring has been haunting you, consider this your exorcism today on the show. You could totally do this. You just need the right plan, not some magic potion. So thank you, my friends, for tuning in to Female Founder Unplugged today. And remember, 1 hour, one problem, one solution. That's the spark. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Female Founder Unplugged. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with me on Instagram at highvoltleadership and send me your questions or let me know your biggest takeaway. Looking for more strategies on scaling your business, building a powerhouse team, or leading with confidence? Head over to highvoltageleadership.ca or follow me on LinkedIn for exclusive content, resources, and special offers just for listeners. Until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and remember, the real magic happens when you're unplugged.